circle. Today we're going to be talking about the 100th anniversary of the installation of chiefs in 1919, which is the last known documented installation of chiefs in this community. If one happened after that, I don't have anything to say, because I don't have any documentation. And a little bit of background first. I mean, where did the elected versus traditional even come from? So, in 1869, the Government of Canada passed legislation that mandated elections on reserves. And that act was called an Act to the Gradual Enfranchisement of Indians, the Better Management of Indian Affairs, and to extend the provisions of the Act 31st Victoria, chapter whatever, 1869, assented to in 1869. What it said was, the governor, meaning part of the Government of Canada governor, may order that the chiefs of any tribe, band, or body of Indians shall be elected by the male members of each Indian settlement of the full age of 21 years, at such time and place and in such manner as the Superintendent General of Indian Affairs may direct. And they shall, in such case, be elected for a period of 3 years, unless deposed by the governor for dishonesty, intemperance, or immorality, and shall be in the proportion of 1 chief and 2 second chiefs for every 200 people. But any band composed of 30 people may have 1 chief, and provided always that the life chiefs now living continue until death or resignation, or until the removal by the government for dishonesty, intemperance, or immorality. So, in this community, people had done their own government. They had selected their own leaders. Increasingly through the 19th century, you had more interference by Indian Affairs. You had the guy in Toronto was involved in appointing people, elections, the whole idea of selecting people with the consent of the whole was being eroded, and this was sort of like the last thing to happen, was that, oh no, now you are going to have elected councils. You get to keep your life chiefs until they die or deposed, but they won't be replaced. So the first election in this community took place in October 1870. At the same time was the first installation of chiefs according to the old rules after the legislation. So already you can see we've got a divided community. You've got the people following an elected system and people following a traditional system. So in the fall of 1870, those opposing an elected system, they installed their own council. They had the 3 remaining life chiefs, who were Chief Thomas Green, Chief Joseph Penn, and Chief Seth Powlis. But they also selected Cornelius Miracle, James Grant, David Powlis, John Brant, Simon Hill, and Brant Powlis. The Government of Canada refused to acknowledge this traditional council. In 1889, you have another installation of a traditional council, a big petition, and I've talked about it in the past, and anybody who wants to see the petition, because when I first saw it, I was just amazed because it had women's names, and it was one of the first documents I had seen with reams and reams of women's names. They had been silent in so much of the documentation, and then suddenly here they were. Here's their voice. So there was an installation then, and the government refused to acknowledge that. And in that time frame, gosh, I wish we knew more about what was happening. The council minutes are missing. So we don't know how conflicted that period was. We don't know how much trouble there was, but we do know we still have these 2 groups. And this tension between traditional and elected supporters, it continues into the 20th century, because in 1915, the elected council was composed entirely of Thunderwater supporters. And Thunderwater supporters were opposed to the institution of the Indian Act. They supported the rights of women and the voice of women, and they were actually opposed to elected councils. So they had all stood for election even though they didn't believe in it, and they got elected to council. They supported education, they supported political activism, and they supported self-determination. And Lisa, if you want to find the Thunderwater photograph, and everybody has a copy of the Thunderwater
in this file that you have right here.
Yeah, and it should be Thunderwater, numbered Thunderwater Group Shot. Yeah. So, the Thunderwater Council made the Indian agent's life a misery. The Thunderwater Council wanted to control the council minute books. The Indian agent wanted to control the council minute books. They wanted to control the council meetings. He wanted to control the council meetings. They refused to sign declarations of loyalty when they were elected. The declaration of loyalty was that they agreed to serve under the Indian agent, under the authority of the Indian agent. They said, we're not going to do that. They spoke in the Mohawk language. The Indian agent couldn't figure out what they were doing. They invited women to the council house. They invited non-members to the council house. They held parties at the council house. And they ruined the floors in the council house. So these are wonderful, active, politically active people. And this is right in wartime. So remember, World War I is ongoing. So we have this elected Thunderwater Council, but also we have, if people remember, in September 1916, we have another installation of a traditional council. So we celebrated that a couple of years ago. One of the last things that the Thunderwater Council did was pass a resolution to say there wasn't going to be any more elected councils. Okay? But in the December of 1918, the Indian agent held a meeting for nominations. 5 men were nominated, and the agent declared them elected. So they were, quote, elected by acclamation.
Okay.
So what year is that, sorry?
That was in December 1918. So the end of the Thunderwater Council. So Thunderwater Council had tried to say, we are the last elected council, we're going back to the old system.
What date was that?
December 1918.
So right in the middle of
Right after the end of the war. In January 1919, the Deputy Superintendent General of Indian Affairs was Duncan Campbell Scott, and he wrote a memorandum to the Minister of the Interior, Mr. Meagan, and he sort of encapsulates the objection that the Government of Canada had to the old system. So, who has reading number 1?
Under the old hereditary system among the Iroquois, the chiefs are elected by the women for life. Each of the various clans or families is entitled to a representation of the Council of Chiefs, on the Council of Chiefs. Representation being selected by the women of that clan or family. In this way, it sometimes happens that at the selection of the chiefs devolves on one or two aged women, or practically in a condition of dotage. It will be readily observed that such a cumbersome and adequate system is not accord with the modern ideas or progressive principle.
Okay. So this is a very weird sort of spin on a traditional council, saying that it's the selection of a chief devolves upon 1 or 2 aged women who are practically in a condition of dotage, which is basically calling them senile, in dementia. But this is the government opinion of a system they really don't understand and they're really not interested in. So that provides the setting for the last installation, the 1919 installation. So you had the Thunderwater Council said there won't be any more elections. Then there was this acclamation. So you have this government approved. They got a stamp of approval of the government, that council. But you also have the Thunderwater people and the supporters of the traditional council system. What are they going to do? So in February 1919, they write a petition, and maybe Lisa can show us some of the pages. Oh, sorry, that's okay. February system. I just want you to get an idea of how long and involved. That's the cover page. Okay, so keep going. Yep. These are all women's names to start with. Still women. the men. There's a lot of people.
How many people live in the community at this time?
Now that I am not sure. In
Sorry, I
19,
didn't bring my
no, it's okay. In 1921, they say there's 1,450 approximately, so it'll be just a little bit less than that in 1919. Maybe 1,300, maybe 1,400.
Right.
This petition has the names of 396 men and women.
And they all could write.
Well, there's some
That's-
issues.
Thing.
No.
There are duplications of names. If you go through, you'll find there's a few people who pop up more than once. And also, there's at least one person who was dead. So I think in my heart, and it's a woman, and what I'm thinking is that the women were getting together and they were signing this thing and they're saying, my mother would have really supported this. They would put her name down.
It's a good idea.
The supporters of Traditional Council submitted this petition against the actions of the Indian agent who had been locking the council house doors so that people could not get in, and the fact that under the Indian Act, quote, that Indians are wards of the government, close quote, and that, quote, the Indians have decided not to allow the Indian agent, Mr. Campbell, and his appointed councilors to control or rule the people of this Tyendinaga. So
Did
this-
any of them ever get sent to Rockwood?
Not that I know of.
Because I've seen lists and there are native names down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we can follow up. So what did the government think of this? So we have reading number 2 is the opinion of Duncan Campbell Scott.
Says it is absolutely essential for the maintenance of authority and the best interests of the Indian that the department should not weaken in the slightest degree its attitude with respect to this agitation of the Thunderwater element on the Tyendinaga and other reserves. Duncan Campbell Scott, March 1919.
So they're deadly afraid of the Thunderwater movement. Thunderwater movement talked about educating Native people, talked about equal rights for women, all the things that the Indian Act did not stand for. Okay, so the official response by the government is reading at number 3.
The department has carefully considered your petition about returning to the system of life chiefs. I would ask you to explain to those who signed the petition that the decision of the department is this matter is final and that it will not be changed. We have been fighting the Germans in order to uphold the principles of government by election. That is government by the voice of the people. The system of hereditary life chiefs and absolutely contrary to democratic principles, because under it, the people have no control over their affairs. Everyone in the band should be equal and should be able to take an active part in the public life on the reserve. And each young man should have a chance of someday becoming a chief or counselor. These ideas represent the spirit of the time. If you should become unwilling to obey the law, the department would have to consider the enfranchisement of your whole band. Then you would lose the protection of the Indian Department and you would have to take your place on an equal footing with the rest of the Canadian people. And you would then find that an old-fashioned hereditary system of choosing your chiefs would not be of much use to you in your struggle for existence in a modern democratic country. You cannot expect to turn back the tide of progress. I hope that the members of the band who signed the petition will understand and consider this letter well, and that they realize that the department is right. Duncan Campbell Scott, 1919.
Okay, so with an elected system, somehow you have control over your own affairs. In a traditional system, you don't. Under the Indian Act, you have control over your own lives. Really.
Yeah.
Everyone should be equal, he says. What about women?
Yeah.
The threat of enfranchisement, to be on an equal footing with citizens, is being used as a threat. And the department is always right. And protection. somehow a traditional council can't protect the land and the people. Under the Indian Act, you couldn't protect the land or the people. No, the rules were all somebody else's. You have this Indian agent who's this intermediary between you and the government. Now, the response from the traditional people in the community was to do the installation in April 1919. Here's our new installed council, and they told the Minister of the Interior. So, reading number 4, and maybe we can show this one, Lisa. It's on as a separate image. April 19th, 1919. Installation of chiefs.
That one?
Do you want to?
It just is.
And there it is.
And just stand up. This is the transcription. Okay. All right. So there we go. All right. And reading is number 4.
We, the Mohawk Band of Indians of the Bay of Quinte, Six Nations, Iroquois, in the County of Hastings in the Province of Ontario, Canada, hereby have accepted the ceremonies of the Confederation of the Five Nations formed by the Conowita, that to choose the lordship, title, or chiefs of clans and families of nation vested in them, that we have declared there will be no more election as we have chosen our chiefs by the regulations of the Confederate ceremonies, according as set forth into the wishes of the Mohawk Band of Indians of the Bay of Quinte. We therefore wish it be accepted by the Minister of the Interior of Indian Affairs. The chiefs are as follows. First, Turtle Clan Chief Joseph Brant. Second, Wellington Green. Third, Jacob Miracle. Fourth, Wolf Clan Cornelius Miracle. Fifth, William Surrow. Sixth, Abram Miracle. Seventh, Bear Clan William Doreen. Eighth, George Hill. Ninth, Solomon Brant. And then the subs: James N. Barnhart, Fred Surrow, Ambrose Claus, Jacob Miracle, John W. Miracle, Andrew Surrow, Johnson Louis, John Surrow, John J. Smart.
So there is the 1919 full slate of titles.
One question I do have is because the way that this is written, if we're talking about clan or like, who would have written this way?
Recording secretary was Solomon J. Brant.
Because it's for it to be a, it just seems really odd to me with the way that it's written, the language that's being used. And these are traditional people, to me, and their band numbers are listed.
That's mine. Everything in square brackets is mine. They wouldn't have. They wouldn't have had.
Okay.
No, they wouldn't. No, because I have to try to identify those folks, right?
Okay.
So band numbers, yeah. And the other thing about it, you have to remember, is they're not writing it for their own people. They're writing it to government.
Yeah, because like the words that they've used just seem odd to me.
Well, I feel they always try to mimic what's going on in the outside world to deal with the outside world.
It feels very government speak, and so therefore they're trying to,
Yeah,
exactly. They want to be taken seriously, right? This is a declaration, so they want to speak the language of a declaration.
Like lordship titles, I'm like,
So they're speaking their language, so they understand what they're talking about.
And it's the whole idea, they would have been Mohawk speakers. So they're translating it to English, trying to make it understandable by some bureaucrat. It sounds kind of strange.
it does, it really does.
Yeah. Anyway, so I did up mini biographies of each of these men based on the information that we know now. So we'll start with the Turtle.
Do you have it? Do you have it in post?
Do we?
It's a reading. Okay.
Do you have it?
So this is Joseph J. Brant in the first turtle title, also known as Joshua Joseph or Joseph Josiah Brant. He's the son of Joshua J. and Mary Hill, Joshua J. Brant and Mary Hill. Born the 3rd of September, 1867, and there is a baptismal record. Died 25th of January 1930, and there is a death record. Buried at Christ Church between Thomas Green and Delia Loft. Source for that is Jonathan Cummings. Joseph Joshua Brandt married Rachel Miracle on the 27th of October 1887. There's a church record. Rachel was the daughter of W.A.S. Miracle and Margaret Ciro. She was born 8th of December 1874 according to 1901 census, and died 19th of October 1906. There is a death record. She's buried at Christ Church between Thomas Green and Delia Loft, and again the source is Jonathan Cummings. His mother, Mary Hill, possibly daughter of William I. Hill and Catherine Miracle. Do you want me to read the rest of them? Yeah. Okay, Wellington Green, Turtle Clan, second turtle title. Wellington Green, son of William and Elizabeth, son of William Green Sr. and Elizabeth Brandt, born 17th October 1874, according to 1901 census. Died 15th April 1952. There's a burial record and a headstone at Christ Church. Wellington Green married Susan Ciro, 28th of September 1898. There's a church record. Susan Ciro, daughter of John Moses Jr. and Sarah Ann Brandt, born 20th July 1882. There's a baptismal record. Died 25th September 1960. Burial record and headstone at Christ Church. His mother was Elizabeth Brandt. Do not know who her parents are as yet. There is a photograph courtesy of Jennifer Walker.
There's a photograph. Wellington Green.
Jacob Miracle, Turtle Clan, third title. Jacob F. Miracle, son of Francis F. Miracle and Ellen Brandt. Born 28th November 1888. There's a baptismal record. Died 19th of December 1945. Record in Archives of Ontario. Married Jessie May Loft on the 20th of July 1910. There's a church record. Jessie May, daughter of Alexander Loft Jr. and Catherine Claus. She was born 13th of June 1885 according to 1901 census. Died 9th of October 1947, Archives of Ontario. Mother Ellen Brandt from Mary Jane Green. Grandmother Mary Jane Green from Eleanor Moses. Jacob was the sister. So Jacob's sister was Blanche Miracle, who married Herman Hill. Do you want me to go through all of it? Yeah, okay.
You're the turtles.
Okay. Here we go. James N. Barnhart, first turtle sub. James Nicholas Barnhart, son of Charles Barnhart and Susan Miracle, born 29th January 1865, baptismal record. Died 9th of May 1934, Archives of Ontario. Married Susan Doreen / McCullough on the 6th of December 1888, as a church record. Susan Doreen McCullough, daughter of Jane Doreen and Calvin McCullough, born 29th of May 1874, according to 1901 census. Died 2nd of May 1942, Archives of Ontario. Mother Susan Miracle from Henry H. Miracle Sr. and Teresa Guillermo. Grandmother Teresa from St. Regis. Brother of R.J. Barnhart, named in 1916 list. Then we have Frederick Ciro or Moses, son of John Moses Jr. and Sarah Ann Brandt, born 28th March 1886, according to 1901 census. Died 25th of October 1953 on the burial record. Frederick Ciro married Mary Hill, 22nd of June 1911. This church record. Mary Hill, daughter of Solomon Hill and Catherine Brandt. She was born 23rd of October 1892 on the baptismal record. Died November 1940 on the burial record. Mother Sarah Ann Brandt, daughter of Jacob Oak Brandt and Margaret Williams. Grandmother Margaret Williams, daughter of George Williams and Margaret Green. There's a photograph courtesy of Leave a Grass family.
Fred and Sarah.
Was everybody baptized back then?
Most everybody. It didn't mean that they were
I know, I'm just wondering, like,
60.
how
There's a lot of baptismals. Yeah, there's a lot of baptism. A lot of church marriages, a lot of burials. People lived their lives in the meantime the way they wanted to. But there's, thank goodness. I mean, makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's a way, because sometimes you don't have registrations for births, and baptisms is the only thing you've got, unless the census record. But no, they brought that with them, right? That connection to the Church of England.
So there's Ambrose Claus, the last one. Ambrose Claus, son of Wellington Claus and Sarah Miracle. Born 30th of November 1889, according to the death record. Died 10th July 1920, Archives of Ontario. Married Magdalene Brandt on the 14th of July 1910, Archives of Ontario. Mary Magdalene Brandt, daughter of Abram Brandt and Mary Hill. Born 9th September 1894, according to 1901 census. Died 10th of November 1941, Archives of Ontario. Mother Sarah Miracle, daughter of William Miracle and Susan Brandt. Grandmother Susan Brandt, daughter of Chief Brandt and Margaret Brandt.
So those are our trails.
That's all of them.
Ambrose Claus doesn't have very long to live. He will die in 1920. I'm trying to remember. I think he had volunteered for World War I, and I think while he was in training, he ended up with I don't know. He ended up with tuberculosis, but he actually got sick while in training. He never made it overseas, and they discharged him because they knew that he wasn't going to make it. And so the whole idea of him going to military training killed him. Okay, wolves.
Cornelius J. Miracle, Wolfland, first wolf title. Son of Joseph and Susan Smith, born 18th August 1867, according to 1901 census. Died the 27th of June 1929, Archives of Ontario. Married Mary Ann Brandt on the 12th of December 1889, according to the church record. Mary Ann, daughter of Peter, Joe, and Deborah Claus Brandt, born the 14th of March 1872, according to the 1901 census. Died March 1919, according to Archives of Ontario. Mother Susan Smith, daughter of Oliver and Jane Claus Smith. Grandmother Jane Claus, daughter of David and Mary Brandt Claus. Great-grandmother Mary Brandt was born at Lachine. William J. Cyril, Wolf Clan's second wolf title. Son of Alexander and Hester Brandt Moses, born 15th of October 1872, according to the 1901 census. Died June 1941, according to a burial record. William J. Smith married Susan Miracle on the 12th of June 1894, church record. Susan Miracle, daughter of Peter and Sarah Claus Miracle, born 15th of September 1873, 1901 census. Died 4th of February 1936, death record. Mother Hester Brandt, daughter of Seth P. and Deborah John Brandt. Grandmother Deborah John, daughter of William and Catherine John. And Abram L. Miracle, Wolf Clan, third wolf title. Son of Lawrence and Jemima Miracle, Miracle Jr., born about 1880. Died the 18th of June 1951, burial record. Abram L. Miracle married Sarah Ellen Miracle, 12th of April 1910, church record. Sarah Ellen Miracle, daughter of Francis F. and Ellen Brandt Miracle, born the 14th of February 1894, baptismal record. Died the 23rd of April 1949-ish, burial record. And Mother Jemima Miracle, daughter of Lawrence and Rachel Claus Miracle Sr.
First wolf sub. could be Jacob W. Miracle, son of Joseph and Susan Smith Miracle, born 16th February 1861, the 1901 census, died after 1936. Jacob W. Miracle married Mary Brandt, 14 January 1887, church record. Mary Brandt, daughter of William and Margaret Cyril Brandt, born the 20th of August 1866, 1901 census, died after 1936. Mother, Susan Smith, daughter of Oliver and Jane Claus Smith. Grandmother, David and Mary Brandt Claus. Could be Jacob F. Miracle, son of Joseph and Esther Claus Miracle, born 20th January 1840, 1901 census. Died 25th of December 1924, the death record. Jacob F. Miracle married Margaret Miracle about 1865. Margaret Miracle, daughter of William and Sarah Hill Miracle. John W. Miracle, Wolf Clan. He was Turtle Clan in 1916 list. The second Wolf sub. John W. Miracle, which is John Willard Miracle, son of Edward G. and Lucy Claus Miracle, born 1st July 1880, baptismal record, died 10th of March 1947, burial record. John W. Miracle married Ida Louise Green, the 9th of August 1905, church record. Ida Louise Green, daughter of William and Elizabeth Green Sr., born the 5th of July 1885, the 1901 census, died 14th of April 1946, a burial record. Mother, Lucy Claus, daughter of Peter and Mary Margaret Louise Claus. John W. Miracle was later elected to council.
And a photograph of him. So there's John W. I think he kind of looks like one of the guys in the Thunderwater, like number 6 maybe? I don't know what's him. Looks like the same tie, actually. Later. Continue.
Andrew Cyril, son of Alexander and Esther Hester Brandt Moses Cyril, born the 25th September 1883, 1901 census, died 10th of March 1975, burial record, buried at Christ Church, photo courtesy of Jonathan Cummings. Andrew Cyril married Ethel Culbertson, 10th of September 1902, church record. Ethel Culbertson, daughter of John and Margaret Lavina Paulus Culbertson, Jr., born the 2nd of October 1887, burial record. Mother, Hester Brandt, daughter of Seth P. and Deborah John Brandt. Grandmother, Deborah John, daughter of William and Catherine John. That's it.
Okay, so there's Andrew and Ethel, and they are in the Thunderwater photograph, we think. And I'm suggesting, and the number 14 looks a lot like Ethel. Now, number 24, the man whose mouth is obstructed by the hat, has been identified as Andrew Cyril, but I'm wondering if it isn't number 23. But it's, all up for grabs. Do you think so?
Yeah.
For sure. We can talk about that. Okay, on to the Bears.
William Doreen, son of Peter and Jane Miracle Doreen, born 25th December 1890, 1901 census, question mark of when he died. First married Susan Barnhart Bennett, daughter of Joseph and Louise Otter Bennett, no children. Second married Una Doris Pearson, daughter of Frederick and Thea Maud Cooper Pearson. Mother Jane Miracle, daughter of William and Susan Brandt Miracle. Grandmother Susan Brandt, daughter of Chief Brandt and Margaret Brandt. George Hill, Bear Clan's second bear title. George Hill, son of Solomon and Catherine Brandt Hill, born 8th of May 1887, 1901 census, died 8th January 1939 death record. George Hill married Ethel Edna Bannister, 11th of January 1912 church record. Ethel Edna Bannister, daughter of George and Margaret Williams Bannister, born 18th of June 1894, 1901 census, died 1982. Mother Catherine Brandt, daughter of Michael and Catherine John Brandt. Grandmother Catherine John, daughter of John and Esther Claus John. Great-grandmother Esther Claus, daughter of Dow Arun Hara and Catherine Penn Claus. Great-great-grandmother Catherine Penn, wife of Dow Claus and J.D. Hill. Third bear title, Solomon J. Brandt, son of Isaac John and Melissa Baptiste Brandt, born 12th of March 1878, 1901 census, died 10th July 1960 church record. First married Rebecca Brandt, 3rd January 1900 church record, daughter of Joseph and Eliza Claus Brandt, born in March 1878 church record, died about 1901. Second married Margaret Hill, 22nd June 1905, marriage record, daughter of John D. and Nancy Miracle Hill. Born December 1886, 1901, died 25th March 1927, death records. Third married Dora Emmeline Fuller, 8th of August 1928, marriage record. Daughter of Samuel and Louisa Miracle Fuller, born 15th of June 1905, church record. No death date. Mother Melissa Baptiste, daughter of John and Ellen Miracle Baptiste. Grandmother Hannah, wife of Francis L. Miracle.
Okay, so we have a photograph of Solomon J. Brandt. Now, I think the guy on top is Isaac Brandt, who is Ike Guilty. And I think that's Solomon J. And we think that the guy on the left there is Hugh Brandt. But I'm not absolutely positive. But the photograph comes from the collection of, is it Genevieve? Yeah, Genevieve Laducier collection. So, but that's actually a really nice photograph. And if that's so, then it's two brothers plus a cousin, I think, is how that triangle would work. So, on to the subs.
Johnson, Lewis Levine, Bear Clan, first Bear son. Johnson Lewis Levine, son of James and Mary Cyril Levine, born 1st of May 1858, church record. Died 20th February 1934, death record. Johnson Lewis married Mary Elizabeth Brandt before 1877. Mary Elizabeth Brandt, daughter of Seth P. and Deborah John Brandt, born 11th of February 18 1901 census. Died 12th of May 1832, death record. Mother Mary Cyril from James and Christine Strong Brandt. Moses. Grandmother possibly Rachel, wife of Jacob Strong.
So
Photo.
we have a
Cover the
photograph
list.
of Johnson with his wife Mary. It's kind of nice to have a family. And I think it's Aunt Chad is connected to Helena, the person who gave us the underwater photograph. That's a connection in her family tree. So you can see how it's connections upon connections upon connections. That's a nice photograph to have.
John Cyril, second Versa. John Cyril, son of James and Nellie Penn. Moses Cyril, born 10th June 1858 census, died 3rd July 1927. Married Sarah Ann Brandt, 29th August 1878. Can I ask you who this Sarah Ann Brandt is? Who's she from?
Oh, there she is. She's one line down.
Sarah Ann, daughter of Jacob Polk and Margaret Williams Brandt. My husband had an aunt. That was her name. Born 7th of November 1861, 1901 census. Died 13th of July 1918. Mother Nellie Penn, daughter of Chief Joseph and Anne Brandt Penn. Grandmother Anne Brandt, daughter of Peter Brandt, Delaware. John J. Smart, Bear Clan, 3rd Versa. John J. Smart, son of James and Catherine Loft Smart, born 1864, died 29th of June 1837. John J. Smart married Deborah Miracle, 23rd of March 1885, church record. Deborah Miracle, daughter of John and Ellen Claus Miracle, born 15th of June 1868, 1901 census. Died 22nd of October 1941, death record. Mother Catherine Loft, daughter of David Loft and Ellen Miracle. Grandmother Hannah, wife of Francis L. Miracle.
Okay. And he is in the Featherwater photograph, and he's been identified as this man here. And his wife is there. So that takes us through the list. We don't have a photograph of everybody, but we have a lot more than we used to, and we continue building the photographic collection as we can. So this is this new installed council. They decided to send a petition to the king, King George V. And we have the images of the May 1919 petition, and it shows that there were 578 names of men and women. Lisa, do you want to find that? May 1919 petition? I just want people to have a look. Yep. So that's the... No, it's okay. I just want people to have a look. Yes, a lot of names. Again, men and women. Again, there's one person at least I think who's actually deceased.
It looked like the same handwriting.
That's right. But what we don't know, well, we do know, this went to the private secretary's office. So, and it looks like a lot of the handwriting is by Thomas Walter Martin, the secretary of the Council of Tribes. So, but the names, there's great consistency in the names between these various petitions. So at this time, there are 1450 as the population. So that you got, let's say there's only 500 names, 450 names, it's still a big percentage of the population are putting their names to this. They were very upset. They said that their rights were secured and defined by treaty, and that their fishing and hunting rights were being interfered with, and that the elected system that had been introduced, quote, that where we are obliged to elect our chiefs for periods of 3 years, which has not worked out to our satisfaction, but has been a source of discord and trouble. And although a large majority of our band desire to revert to our former and ancient custom of electing chiefs for life, by a vote of the tribe, this right is refused us by the Department of Indian Affairs. So here's the community, members of the community, writing to the king, saying the government of Canada won't let us do government the way we want to do government. I can't find any official response to this petition at all. I think from it going to England, probably it got bounced back to Ottawa, probably Indian Affairs somewhere, where it would have landed on Duncan Campbell Scott's desk. And we know what his opinion was. Then in October 1919, they sent yet another petition, but it was sent to the Superintendent General of Indian Affairs, and it's much smaller. It has approximately 114 names of men and women. And this petition again stated that the elected system just wasn't working for them. They wanted to return to, quote, the Confederation system of life chiefs, close quote. It reminded that the government that men had been installed and Indian Affairs had been informed in April of the new installation of chiefs. It reported that a majority of the people objected to an appointed council, which is what they still had, right? That council elected by acclamation. And that council had been recognized by government. It reported that legal and treaty rights had been infringed, and that we are, quote, neither wards nor subjects of the crown, but independent allies bound by friendly treaties, which we hold as sacred as any made between England or any other nation or nations, close quote. They wanted they said that the current appointed council has no authority, doesn't have the consent of the people, and should be removed from office. And Lisa, if you can show me that, because there's Solomon J. used his stamp on this one. So
You want the stamp?
this is October. We have to flip to this one. Yeah. So up in the corner, Six Nations Indian Council, Mohawks of Tyendinaga, and that's Solomon J.'s stamp. And it's a bear image that's in the corner. This petition was ignored by council. So what happens after 1919? You have these two systems that are operating at the same time. The council, which had been appointed, this elected council, elected by acclamation, remained in office until 1921. So they remained in office until the next election happening in, I guess, December of 21. In May of 1921, there was a letter of protest sent by the people in the community, and that's reading number 5.
Yeah, this one's long and quite formal, so it's May 1921. It's signed by 4 chiefs. Chief Joseph J. Brandt, Wellington Green, Cornelius J. Miracle, and Abram L. Miracle. So this petition is formal. It says, "We, the undersigned Indians, being members of the Mohawk Band of Tyendinaga Reservation, humbly present to His Majesty's government the following statement of facts for consideration by the Ministry as to dealings with the Indians on the said reserve. That said members of the band have for some time been anxious to ascertain the position in which they stand with reference to the enactment of various provincial statutes which have been declared by provincial officers to have the force and effect of law and pretending to deal with Indians, with a view to having such matters clearly explained to us. We demand of the Indian agent, that of the Indian councillors, that a general council be open to the people of our band for the purposes of explaining to us the various matters that have been causing us anxiety. The councillors, I guess this is reference to the appointed councillors, or the
Yes.
acclaimed councillors. The councillors and the Indian agent refused us the right to have a general council of the band, and the councillors declared that they were doing business themselves. And sir, we protest the action of the councillors and the Indian agent in refusing us the right to have a general council and ordering us out of our council house. And sir, we also protest the action of the said Indian agent and councillors in transacting our affairs in the private office of the Indian agent. And sir, we protest the present actions taken by councillors in their transacting of our affairs in our council chamber private to themselves. Lands have been sold by councillors, an agent without the consent of the people of our band, leasing also a band property, surrender of our lands in the same manner. The distribution of annuity money to the band has also disappeared from our reservation. And sir, we pray that it has always been the custom to allow the gathering of members of our band at the council house for all lawful purposes, and not the right of the Indian agent or the councillors to order us out of our council room or to lock us out of our council house. Such actions is done time and again. And we understand councillors acting upon the direct instructions of Good Campbell, the Indian agent in your department. And so we further feel that it is in the best interest for peace and harmony of the Mohawk band that the said Indian agent be not only censored for his conduct, but that he be removed forthwith from office. And sir, we will ever pray, done this 18th Sunday of the plant moon. Then it says GSE, which we're not sure what that stands for, GSE 429, and at the Tyendinaga Reservation.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with the Council of Tribes, with the way that they did time, especially talking about the plant moon. They had various things were done on the names of the traditional calendar, I guess.
But then it was dated May 1921.
1921.
The number we'll understand.
Yeah. So this is the sort of like the last official protest that I have found on record. And this is what the elected system has done. The council house has been locked. People are locked out. Business is being done behind closed doors. Business is being done by the Indian agent. This is what the government said was democracy, right? That's what they said.
Did you ever find any notes in Ottawa? Because the Indian agent had to send notes, right?
Yeah.
So
There's reams. Sometimes I have to send it in triplicate. There's all kinds of stuff from the Indian agent, but in this time frame, it depends on archivally how it got bundled together. So this is in a huge archival file, and you're hunting in hundreds of documents to try to find stuff like this. But you do. And I don't think that Indian Affairs actually liked Agent Campbell very much. They found him a very weak Indian agent. So there's lots of letters about that too, that he wasn't doing things right. Or if we only had a stronger man at the helm, he'd put those people in shape, kind of thing. So the election comes in the fall of December 1921, and what happens? John W. Miracle. Seen his photograph. Peter Joe Brandt, we have his photograph. William J. Ciro, Nelson S. Miracle, and Wellington Greenleafson, his photograph, all elected to council. So the people have thrown out their acclaimed people, and they have put back in traditional council supporters. George Hill, who is one of our 1919 council members, he's not elected in immediately. He becomes part of elected council the next election cycle. In the 1930s and the 1940s, men connected to this traditional council movement were often elected to council. In 1937, Clinton Miracle, we have a photograph of him, Lisa. He was elected chief in 1937, and he was the son of Robert and Sophia Miracle. And Sophia, her name is on the petitions. So we're come one more generation down. From the 1919 council, we're now going to be dealing with the children of the supporters. In 1942, Clifford Miracle, and we have a photograph of him, he was elected chief. And he is there. And he was the son of Eddie Seth Miracle, and that name can be found in the petitions. In 1945, Nelson Green, and we have a photograph of him, Tech Green. He was elected chief, and he was the son of Wellington Green. So we've already seen his father's photograph today. So in that year, in 1945, Amos Brandt, Solomon J. Brandt, Nelson S. Miracle, and Norway Miracle were all elected to council. Tech was the son of a 1919 councillor. Solomon J. Brandt was a 1919 councillor, and Nelson S. Miracle was a supporter of the traditional council. Just to wrap up, what is the legacy? And people have talked to me before, what is the legacy of this movement towards a traditional council? There are those who continued the fight, and they continued the fight by joining the elected council. There were people who didn't do that. George Hill, who was a 1919 councillor, he and his family enfranchised. So people took different paths. One of the other legacies of this is the origin of the long hair, right? The long hair people. Lisa, do you want to tell that story? I think you tell it better than I do, actually.
So the story I know, sorry, I have some friends. The story that I've heard about this is that there was a meeting at the council house, and people are divided. So it's in this time frame, and it's in the Thunderwater movement time frame. And you have like Thunderwater traditional people supporters and Indian Agent Government of Canada, New Way supporters, and they get arguing back and forth over I'm not even sure what, but somebody says, then you go stand over there with those long-haired people, and just like that, and it's 1920s, and now we're almost 2020, and sometimes those terms still get thrown around, even though I think maybe we may have moved away from that type of what people would call a party system.
Right? It's still state agent elected because he's long hair, short hair.
Right. I feel like it's kind of like diminished now, but there are a number of people who still refer to use those terms as like party things. So I'm sure there's more to the story than that, and that's something I would always like to hear a little bit more about too.
Where we're talking like early 19, late 18 here. Is the council house, we still talking like where they put the community center now? Do we know any of that?
In the 1878 Atlas of Hastings County has the council house being where the community center is now. It has several.
The center of the reserve.
Yeah, it has several. Every once in a while, you get a record and it'll say, "Oh, it's falling down. We need to build a new one." And so there's been a couple, especially after the Thunderwaters held the parties in there, and then you have all kinds of paperwork about the floors being ruined, and there were women in there, like we can't have that. And then a new one would be built eventually if they got the money to do it. But yeah, it's still the same.
Because when I was a child, it was always considered the council house, and now I even called to book it, and they said, "Do you mean the community center?" Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've lost a lot of history just by using that term.
Yeah.
And just that generation, or whoever that person was, doesn't know all that history. They're too young, they maybe have never heard it.
Well, the band
But-
did, because they put it on there, right? They
The band's
changed
the
the
one.
name.
Well, everybody
Growing up,
did,
that's
not
what I
just the
heard.
band.
Right.
It's council house.
I know the people that vote. I thought the original council was worked out.
I did.
I Yeah. Yeah, there was more than one, yeah.
Yeah, there was three.
Yeah.
It might have been more than one.
So just a few other things that kind of down the way is language. The traditional council supporters, the Thunderwater supporters were keen on language. They were keen on rights of women. The government of the day, which touted this democracy, were not keen on women having the vote, even though Canadian women get the vote in the early part of the 20th century. Women here didn't get the right to vote in council elections until 1951.
So do we have, is there a copy or anything that we even stated about clanmothers that were put up at the same time as these chiefs?
No.
We have no documents on anything of that.
No, there's nothing.
No, I understand why.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it's just a.
It's the 1916 installation that has two women's names on it. And one we know is a clan mother because her son's on the council. And that's Catherine. She's in that one. But no, there's nothing. And I think it's because that's a
It's
typed
going
copy.
to the government, right?
Yes, it's going to the government. So what else? Promotion of culture, promotion of language, women's rights. How about the Indian Act? We still have the Indian Act. You know, it's 2019. We still have the Indian Act. This paragon of democracy that Dr. Cameron Scott talked about. So I think maybe the energy for change is still there. Maybe it got diverted. Maybe it went to different things. But you can see the echoes are really, they're still there.
They're still here today. It's the fight, the fractions, it's quite.
It's stunning, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it
It's
is.
consistency.
There's no change. There's no change.
It's true. Anyway, so that concludes. We can talk about anybody in the Thunderwater photograph that you want to talk about. I say no, we'll go up, and we can have a break first and come back and just do a Q&A session because there's a lot of material here, and I'm sure people have got questions. Have a good look at that Thunderwater photograph. If you've got an ancestor who's in there, I'd love to know.